is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I've got a really cool guest come and join us all the way from LA. He is an LA-based comedian and podcaster. Very cool. His name is Raja Burrows. Raja, thank you for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background?
Sure. My name is Raja Burrows. I currently live in Los Angeles, California. I spent a decade in New York on the musical theater Broadway circuit. Did that for, all of my 20s and into my 30s. But I recently moved out to LA to just live a cleaner, more grounded lifestyle and to be closer to family and just New York was a great place to spend my 20s. And now that I am ready to move on to the next stage of my life, it required me to make a cross-country move.
Yeah, so total opposite, East Coast, West Coast, totally two different vibes. I mean, I love both places and I'm in the Midwest. So, but I love LA, I love New York. Yeah, so totally way too different. Yeah. So what'd you love most about New York?
I loved how much structure there was.
Interesting.
Here's what I mean by that. I moved to New York when I was 22.
Okay.
I think I just turned 23 maybe. And from the connections I had in college, I had an agent and I was poised to join the union. And so there was a lot of institutional support that I felt that I had moving to New York.
Cool.
And I loved the clarity in terms of what was expected of me as an actor. Because, I joined the union pretty quickly, which was kind of a foregone conclusion. And then you just start auditioning.
Okay.
And it was just understood that was my job. And I wake up every day at, between 6:15 and 6:30. You get online, you sign up for your auditions, you do at least an audition or two every day, sometimes up to 3. And then on nights and weekends, I would tutor. I had a job with a tutoring company.
Oh, nice.
And, in a lot of ways, it was very chaotic and frantic and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But on a very structural, sort of day-to-day logistics level, I had a lot of predictability. And I really, really loved that.
That's good. That is really good. So I know when I talk to some people about New York, they're like, "Oh, I can't stand it. I've never had a good experience." I'm like, I've always had a good experience in New York, and I've always I think the people there are just as nice there as here in the West Coast. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just had to ask that really quick.
Yeah,
so
no.
I love talking to artists like yourself because the energy that you guys have is very similar to mine, and I love it. We kind of compete off of each other. So yeah, I see you're smiling right there, yeah. So tell us about your comedian background because I love comedians, and any chance I get to smile or laugh, I'm all about it.
That's fantastic. We love people like you. Thank you for existing. So I mean, I've always grown up and I was always funny, quote unquote. I always, was able to make people laugh with a wry perspective, whatever. But I really got into comedy in 1997.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I really started watching Saturday Night Live. Jim Carrey was hosting, and I was sort of aware of SNL as a show, but I didn't really whatever. And I saw that and I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Whatever this is fantastic. And there again, so I sort of got into sketch comedy and I left it and came back. It was a very circuitous route to, my comedy path. Okay. I did improv in New York City. I did improv here. Right now I'm really into stand-up. That's been like
stand-up
a recent.
Is cool.
It's and in all of it, it really does come down to how can I feel like I am expressing myself authentically, combined with what work do I actually want to do?
Yeah.
Because I've always seen performing comedy, music, whatever it is that I do, I've never seen that as anything but a job.
Yeah.
That just some people are plumbers, some people build computers, some people are meant to be litigators. This is my job.
Yeah.
And it's never been a hobby. It's never really been something I did for fun, in the sense that it's just never been recreational.
Right.
And so my path along the way has always been guided by what work am I the most interested in doing right now.
I like that. I can relate to that. I feel like if you, so you're definitely a career artist slash comedian slash performer slash entertainer, I'd say. So I mean, and I think a lot of people, the mistake they make is they go into it thinking that they're a career person, entertainer, when they really are just like a hobby entertainer.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes the difference between you and someone else that is pursuing the same path that you've pursued.
Totally. And here's the thing, I am an enormous proponent of hobbies. I think that, you absolutely do not have to do something professionally just because you like it or you're good at it. Like one of my main hobbies is fitness. I love working out. I love going to the gym. I love spending my money on a nice gym and a personal trainer, and like going to the gym at least 4 or 5 times a week and eating right and all these. I love doing it. I'm never gonna have 8% body fat. I'm like, that's just, I have no desire.
So you're not going to compete like I do?
Like the amount of effort that it would take for me to do that, it's just not work that I'm interested in doing.
Yeah.
And I am perfectly comfortable with whatever results happen. But that doesn't mean I don't love working out. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy cooking from time to time. But so I bring that up in the context of, being a hobby singer, because I did musical theater, community theater for years.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that, singer too. But you're entertainer. Yeah. We're just going to give you the label entertainer.
Entertainer. I love it.
Let me
entertain you. Yes. But look, I did community theater for years. I did theater and music and whatnot in college. And the people who I think got the most out of it were the people who were like, listen, I just love to sing, and I love being in this a cappella group, and I love seeing my friends twice a week. That's the value of it. And they're like, yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not going to be a professional singer. I don't want that life. I don't want to do that work, but I love singing.
Right.
And honestly, they have a lot more fun than I do.
Sure. Yeah.
So
yeah. It's different when you come from that space versus whatever, but you love what you do too.
I do. No, look, I love what I do, but I love it in a different, I love it in the way that you love your job.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
I got you. So yeah, like the comparison versus hobby versus career. I understand what you mean. Yeah, that's very clear. Hey guys, Deanna here. I'm taking a quick break to share an exciting opportunity with you. I have recently partnered with Scotsman. They have created a crowdfunding campaign building 3D printed electric scooters that make transportation smart, elegant, and sustainable. It runs on energy efficient batteries that double as USB-C power banks. And they're swappable too, so you can replace your battery and keep your scooter. Check out their crowdfunding page down below. Hurry and sign up now to take advantage of their early bird prices, 50% off. It has a built-in camera, GPS, live maps, and an automatic lock. So hurry up now, get in on this. Go to my special link below, 50% off, and be a part of this really cool campaign. You won't be disappointed. So your stand-up comedy. So are you able to do that right now in the LA area? Because aren't you guys more closed down than we are?
Somewhat. So the stand-up journey is pretty new for me. I started in January with an outdoor class.
Okay.
So one of the advantages of being in Los Angeles is, yes, things are shut down indoors, but the weather is so nice that, I've been able to work out outside. I've been able to do things like the stand-up class. And again, it's a very new medium for me in a lot of ways, but the work is very familiar. Like I understand, like, you know, again, coming from a
Process.
sketch writing background, coming from just a music writing, songwriting background, like I understand the mechanics of set up a thing, find the premise, explore the premise, hit a like I understand that work.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's a lot of the work that I'm doing right now. And I'll do like Zoom open mics and things like that.
Not the
But I'm
same
not
though, I
really,
feel like.
it's not. It's not. And again, it's because I feel like I'm a very physical human
Yeah.
beyond being a physical entertainer. Like just
Right.
as a human,
But
I have
we're all made up of energy. So when you are in the presence of someone, to feel that energy is so different. I mean, I can feel it through the screen sometimes. Like, yeah, I can feel yours, but
yeah.
like it's just not the same.
It's it's such a, and it's funny because I've been thinking about like the work that I want to do. You know, I tutor right now and that's fantastic, but you know, I'm looking for again other sources of income just to sustain and move forward in life and all of these things. And you know, it's really tricky because as somebody, you know, I do think of myself as a bit more on the cerebral side and communicator and writer and whatever, but I have so much physical, like my physical energy takes up space.
I like it.
It's it's cool, it is powerful. I honor it. I love it. I've learned to understand the responsibility and the effect and whatever. And so doing stuff through Zoom, it's great for nuts and bolts.
Sure.
It's great for like one step above doing it in front of the mirror, being able to sort of see like, okay, is this landing at all? Does this joke thud? Is this the right wording as a, you know, because you'll be saying a joke that you rehearsed and practiced and you'll start saying it and just the faces will kind of curdle on the
Yeah.
Zoom screen.
Like that wasn't funny.
Right. And you're like, right. And then again, what I love about stand up comedy is that it's all on you. Like, if a joke doesn't land, that's not the audience's fault.
Right. Right.
Like, it just, now, maybe as the, you know, maybe it's like, you know what, it's a bad crowd, they don't understand my humor, whatever. But ultimately, my job is to then go back into the workshop and go, okay, did I actually set up this premise clearly enough?
Right. Right.
So Chris Rock talks about this, and I love Chris Rock. I think he's a fantastic stand-up. But if you listen to his stuff, he hits whatever premise
Yeah.
like seven times. He'll, you know, the government hates rap. The government hates rap. Do a little bit. The government hate, and it's why, because his thought process is actually very abstract and very high concept, but you get it because he's like, this is the premise,
Right.
this is the premise, this is the thread to follow. And so then I can go back and go, you know what, I did make the premise clear, I feel good about that, but I think that maybe this joke didn't go far enough, or maybe I
Right.
could have switched this around. um
You
and
can
so
teach class,
that's,
I think, at this point. Like I'm learning some stuff.
yeah. No, it's really cool. So you know, to go back to your original question of like, am I able to do that now? Very, very much.
Yeah.
In terms of the work of creating material, totally. And then like again, just because of my entertaining background, it's not a leap to like put it up on its feet.
Sure.
Like I will be fine. I promise. It's like I'm not gonna like bail and get nervous and get weird and self-conscious on stage because I have 35 years of being on stage
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Teddy's saying hi. He's
Hi.
like, yeah, you got plenty of experience being on stage.
Brr.
He's giving you a standing ovation right now.
I love it.
Well, you're gonna have to. Do you on your any of your links? Do you show where you're going to? Do you have any shows set up for your stand-up comedy?
Not right now. Everything is a little in terms of the like in terms of the shows. Those are still a little shut down.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. In terms of like finding my comedy, like again, I'm putting together my reel. I just did sort of like a show, and I'm now in the process of like editing that and figuring out like how I want to clip it up, and
We're gonna have to do a part two then when
we're gonna
you
have to do a part two.
yeah, rocking and rolling. Actually, there's something that we didn't talk about that you have in your bio.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part about getting sober? Because you're sober now, and how many
Hmm.
years has it been?
Over 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Um, that's a really good question. I would say that the hardest part of getting sober was allowing myself to feel good.
Hmm.
And I didn't recognize that that was a thing that I was allowed to feel.
Okay. That's
And
heavy.
so yeah.
That's heavy stuff.
And so the hardest part about getting sober was, when I say the hardest part about getting sober was feeling better and feeling good inside my body, it meant that I now had to start making choices to support that.
Yeah.
And it meant going, oh, wait a minute, I actually like going to, like, I like how my body feels when it picks up iron and puts it down. Like,
Yeah.
I like what that does to me physiologically, emotionally, spiritually. And then recognizing, oh, okay, well, hang on a second. If I not drinking means that I get to do that better, but
Right.
not drinking also creates a little bit of a separation between the people that I socialize with. Because here's the thing, my default state is 2 drinks in. Like, my natural energy level, communication, vulnerability, that's everybody else after a margarita and a half.
Okay.
So it's tricky, especially like, when I'm starting to talk to somebody. If I'm having a club soda and they are on margarita number 1, I'm actually more outgoing than they are
Interesting. Okay.
most of the time.
Hmm.
More vulnerable, more willing to get intimate, more willing to get abstract and heady and personal and weird and non-judge, like all of that, like all of those walls.
Yeah.
And so there really is, I mean, there's a pretty strong energetic disparity, especially if I'm talking to a lady, where it's like, okay, what's really going on here? He's not drinking, I am drinking. This feels uncomfortable. I don't understand this dynamic. And again, especially in New York, LA is a little easier because you can be like, if you say you don't drink in LA, that's, he's like, oh yeah, no, you just, because you're an actor and you care about getting fit and having, like, that's fine. Like, of course, it's completely reasonable to not drink out here.
Right. Right. Right.
But it's, and again, it's been tricky to weigh, like, okay, well, if my priority is feeling good in my body,
Yeah.
being present, being grounded, being connected, and using that positive grounded energy to be kind and charitable and gracious and like, and all of these incredibly positive characteristics, that means that there are some tangential connections that I was really thriving on and felt that I needed in my life that just had to go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's some heavy stuff. So I mean, I don't drink all the time. I mean, I'll go
Mm-hmm.
out, like this past weekend. I went out and I had fun. I had intended to celebrate because
Love it.
had to hit some milestones with my podcast, and but there's a lot of times I go out and I don't drink, and
Sure.
it's a very different dynamic
Yeah.
when you are not drinking, and other people are drinking.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wow, it makes you realize, like, whoa, do I act like that?
Yeah.
I did this past weekend. I know that.
Well,
I'm like,
oh yeah, listen. And here's the thing. I certainly do not want to speak for all sober people in recovery. Like, this is very much what I'm about to say, the opinion of Raja Burrows
sure.
as of today. I have no problem with being around people who are drinking, with people who drink. I think I'm actually kind of pro alcohol in some
Yeah,
respects.
give it a shot.
I really am. Like, listen, because again, I get that we we are not just stardust.
Yeah.
We are physical people who live in a society with strains and pressures, and people have been drinking for years, since we were fermenting honey or whatever the first version of alcohol was, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not anti-alcohol, and to be perfectly honest, I don't actually have that many sober friends.
Hmm.
I have a couple, but it's not. I tend to get along better with people who are like you, who are like, some nights I drink, some nights I don't drink, some nights we burn it to the ground because that's what we. And I love being. And it doesn't come from a place of like, I love being the sober person in the room.
Oh, sure.
No,
I don't care. I don't feel that from you at all.
no, but I love,
Personal choice.
I love the sort of bacchanalian energy. And
Yeah.
I love that I can partake in that and give myself permission to go there safely, responsibly. And if other people need drinks to get there, great. I happen to not.
Yeah.
And in fact, probably shouldn't, because I tend to go way too far, which is why I had to stop drinking. Uh, you know, when it's a pattern, that's a problem. But like, I love going there, and I can totally go there and get wild and get weird. And that is a form of social energy and socializing
Yeah. It is.
that I genuinely appreciate.
Yeah. I feel you. Okay, with
Mm-hmm.
that being said, before we
Yeah.
start wrapping things up, let's talk about your podcast really quick, because you're a
Yes.
podcaster like me.
Yeah.
Talk
So
to us.
So my podcast is called Magical Living with Raja Burrows. You can find it on Spotify, Google Plus, wherever, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, all the places. And it started out when I moved to LA, because I was like, well, if I'm moving to LA, I have to start a podcast. That's the rule.
Oh, really? Is that right? Is that right?
It's such a stereotype. It's like, I moved to LA and then I started a podcast to like explore my feelings.
Okay.
Which is exactly what I did. And it started out with a couple of interviews, and then, just sort of reframing, readjusting, getting settled in the city. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And I moved the podcast content to my Facebook page, and I called it Magical Living Live. And it was just 20 minutes a day at 4 o'clock Pacific in the middle of the pandemic, being like, hey guys, let's take a breather. Let's process what's happening. Let's feel some feelings together. And I did that for about a year.
Wow.
And it was great. It was important and cathartic, and I learned a lot, and my audience learned a lot. And hi, puppy. But then I was like, no, you know what? This really is, hello, little dog in frame.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. But I realized, like, no, this really is meant to be a podcast. I want to go back to magical living.
Yeah.
And so every Tuesday and Thursday, there's a new 20-minute episode where I just talk about, and I record it the day of. So this isn't like a pre-planned, like I don't have episodes in the can, because because I want it to feel immediate and present, and I want it to feel like this is what I'm working through today.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's cool. I love doing it. Again, going back to this idea of what work do I love to do?
Yeah.
This is work I love to do. And I love just getting to express myself for 20 minutes. I mean, I do it all in one take. I go into my little OBS recorder, whatever. I hit record, and then I just talk for 20 minutes. And it's and again, my whole thesis with the podcast, with Magical Living, the whole Magical Living brand, as it were, is I feel like in the wellness space, we talk a lot about the work leading up to like starting to live more intentionally.
Yes.
Right. And all the baggage we have to clear away. And I feel like we talk a lot about, what to do sort of looking back retrospectively and helping others on their journey.
Yes. Agreed.
Both of which are fantastic and really important in the space.
Yes.
But the space that I'm really interested in occupying is that middle space of, when people start to get a little bit of momentum and they start to ask questions about their own lives and how do all of the pieces fit together, a lot of that tends to happen internally. And we don't really get to hear what that process is like. We don't know if our process is good, what other people's processes look like. And so with magical living, my goal is to articulate that process twice a week so that other people can see what it feels like to stumble over your own words.
Yeah.
Like, there will be times in the middle of a podcast, swear to God, I will be going on one track and then realize, oh, wait, no, hang on a second. But if that's true, oh, wow. Like, and
be very enlightening in some regard because you're just like letting it, just let it all naturally come out.
And I do my best in all of the work that I do, whether it's as a stand-up comedian, a sketch comedy performer, a sketch comedy writer, a singer, a guitar player, is to let myself be surprised in the moment.
I like that.
There's a great...
I write that down. That might be the title for this episode.
Yeah. There's a great video of a guitar player named Billy Strings playing a song called Dust in a Baggie at the Grand Ole Opry. And if you watch his face, so he's like a master guitarist, bluegrass guitar player, and he's playing and he's doing the little picking and the doodly doos and the stuff that's like, my brain breaks.
Yeah.
But if you watch his face, you can tell he doesn't know where his fingers are about to go.
He's just like on a roll.
He's just like, I need to find this thing and find that, oh, that's where my fingers want to, okay. And it is thrilling to watch. And that's the kind of energy that I try to bring to as much of my life as possible, whether it's on a podcast, in a conversation, even at the gym. Let myself be surprised by what my body is doing in this moment.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, with that being said, Raja, can you drop all your links? Where can someone find you?
Yes.
Or follow you, all that good stuff.
You can find me on Instagram at The Jolly Raja. Yeah, right? Catchy.
I like that.
You can also find me on anchor.fm if you look for Magical Living or Raja Burrows. Those are probably the two best places to reach me, is Instagram and then via my podcast page.
Awesome. I will put all those links in the description of the episode. Before I let you go and we say goodbye to our beautiful audience, do you have any last final words of wisdom or advice you'd like to leave with them?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then drop it.
Yes, I do. You have time. You do not have an unlimited amount of time. The joy of being human is that our lives are finite. But this idea that everything resets at the end of the day is neither true nor helpful. And I think that it is our privilege and responsibility to learn to see longer chunks of time mattering and to feel comfortable going, you know what? There are peaks and valleys, but my end goal, whether it's for the end of the week or the end of the month, all of the work that I am doing matters.
Yeah.
I'm building my skills. I'm, chipping away at whatever problem. I'm storing away money. That doesn't reset at the end of the day just because the sun rises and sets. You can carry your energy further than you think. And that, I think, is the energy that's ultimately going to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah, I love that. That was beautiful. I totally agree. Thank you for being guest, Raja. I'm excited to hear about your stand-up comedy. You'll have to do a follow-up when you definitely get out there and do your thing.
Definitely.
You guys, this is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, follow, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back very soon with more dynamic guests.